You know, one reason for owning a four-wheel drive vehicle is the idea that you can go practically anywhere you want, even through bumper-deep streams. But after you've forged your way through the deep muddy, some post-wilderness maintenance is probably in order. So to keep the grit out of your gears, here's Pat Goss.
John, it seems like I remember some great philosopher saying that oil and water don't mix. Well, I can't really believe that, because what I have right here in this jar is oil and water that's mixed together. Well, what this really is that it's differential oil out of a four-wheel drive vehicle that has been mixed with water, and after it's been driven for a while, this white, milky-looking mess is what we wind up with. And you know, it really is absolutely worthless. That is, at least it's worthless except for destroying the differential in your four-wheel drive. Now, how does this happen? Well, you know, four-wheel drive vehicles were made to have fun in. They were made to get out and get in the fields and go through streams and all such things as that. And right there is where the problem is, those streams that we all like to cross with our four-wheel drives. You get in there and the water gets over the differential, the water gets into the differential, and then after you've driven it for a while, this is what you wind up with, and if you don't take care of it, you destroy the differential or the bearings or other parts in the front end or the rear end of your four-wheel drive, and that is expensive. Now, there are some things that you can do to help prevent this and take proper care of your four-wheel drive, but in order to do that, you have to get down and dirty. You got to get down underneath the vehicle, and we'll show you what to do. So let's see what we can do here. There really isn't any graceful way of doing this, so we'll do it the best we can. Now that you're underneath, what do? There's a whole maze of different things under here and so on. Well, the first thing, and this is something that you have to do regularly, whether you've been in water or what you've been doing with it, is to check the vent tube on the differential. Now, keep in mind, everything that we're going to do on the front of this four-wheel drive, you would also do on the rear of it. All right, the vent tube, right up here. There's a rubber tube that's connected to the top of the differential that lets air come into the differential so that it can breathe when the fluids inside expand and contract from heat and so on. This must be intact and must be firmly connected to the fitting on the top of the differential. Now, what does this do? Well, it goes up, clear up generally beside the radiator of the vehicle, and it takes in air above any water level that you should normally be getting into, so that no water can get into the differential itself. So check that and do it regularly. All right, next, if you've been in water, get under the vehicle like we've done here, and right here you have a drain plug. Take a wrench, loosen the drain plug, like so. Take it out, put your finger into the hole, and hopefully we'll find a little gear oil in there someplace. Right here. Look at not only the quantity of gear oil. The gear oil should be level with the opening in the front of the cover itself, but also look at the color of it and make sure that it isn't that white, milky-looking color that we had here in the jar. If it is, if it has turned milky, that means it's contaminated with water. And that means that you have to change that gear oil. Now, how do you go about doing that? Well, very simple. Right here, the front cover on most differentials is removable. You take these bolts out around the cover, take the cover itself off, and the gear oil will drain out. Of course, make sure that you don't do this in the middle of the driveway without a drain pan under it, because you'll have a heck of a mess if you do. Put a drain pan under it, drain it, use a new gasket, put this back on, and once you're through, fill it with the proper type of gear oil, and put the drain plug back in and tighten it. Make sure that it's tight. Now, basically, this is what you can do underneath the vehicle, and this is what you should do regularly, and that you must do every time you've had the vehicle in deep water. Now, there's also something else that you have to do, but in order to see what you would do there, we have to come back out from under the vehicle, and we have to look at the wheels. So let's see if we can get out of here. Well, now we got through that in one piece. Next thing is out here at the wheel. What we're going to do here is that we're going to first turn the wheel like so we can get a little better look at things here. Right in the center of the wheel, you'll find that you have a cover. Now, depending on the type of four-wheel drive that you have, this may be a locking hub or whatever, but generally, this center is held in place by either a series of screws or bolts, such as we have on this one, or there'll be a spring clip back down in here a little bit that has to be released. Either way, you disconnect the retaining device on that particular wheel, and you take this center off. Once you have the center off, look inside and you'll see grease in there. Now, this is the grease that is used to pack the wheel bearings in the front of the vehicle. And also keep in mind, you only have to do this on the front wheels, not on the rear. Okay, now you look at that grease in there and you try to determine whether or not it is contaminated with water. Now, the way you tell that is very simple, because it also will get this kind of milky look to it if it is contaminated with water. If it is, then the wheels have to be disassembled and the wheel bearings have to be repacked with a proper type of wheel bearing grease. And that can be a little bit of a project. Oh, one other thing. You know, we've been underneath this vehicle, and this one was jacked up. And if you have to jack yours up to get under it, make sure that you follow all the necessary safety procedures. Make sure you use jack stands and so on before you ever get under the vehicle. So don't forget, if you take your four-wheel drive for a swim, be sure to check for water contamination in the running gear, or next time you might be left high and dry.